A party at war with itself, a government completely paralyzed, a leader facing open rebellion. This isn't just another messy week in Washington. According to some pretty heavy analysis, what we're witnessing is the anatomy of a full-blown political meltdown, and it follows a terrifyingly predictable pattern.
The scene is pure panic. You've got House Speaker Mike Johnson, cornered by his own party members. And the message, according to sources on the ground, is brutal. They're telling him, MAGA Mike, you're not just sinking your own ship, you're taking all of us down with you. They see the polls, they see the fallout from the Iran war, and they are terrified.
And how does Speaker Johnson respond to this firestorm? He folds. He cancels the votes for the night, just shuts it all down. Now, for a party that just got back from recess, this isn't a strategy. It looks a lot like running scared, kicking the can down the road while the crisis just gets bigger and bigger. And while the politicians are hiding, the country is facing real problems. The Department of Homeland Security has been without funding for 60 days. 60! At the same time, we've got record wildfires, gas prices soaring, and families getting squeezed harder every single day. The government is literally closed for business while the country burns.
Behind closed doors, the truth comes out. In private group chats, some of these same Republican lawmakers are admitting it. They're saying, we have no message, we're getting destroyed out there, we're going to lose everything. The public image is one of confidence, but the private reality is one of total despair.
So what is going on here? Is this just incompetence? No, there's a name for this. Political scientist John Mearsheimer calls it the iron law of hubris. And the rule is simple, it's brutal. Great powers stay great by focusing on one thing: raw power. That means a strong economy, a dominant military, and a stable country. The second they start chasing ideology, personal glory, or political fantasies, they begin to rot from the inside out. And that's the key right there. This isn't an accident. It's a pattern. It's a blueprint for collapse that we've seen again and again throughout history. When leaders get so caught up in their own domestic political games that they ignore the cold, hard realities of power, the end is always the same. So let's look at the blueprints. First, we don't even have to go that far back. Let's look at the George W. Bush administration and the absolute catastrophe of the Iraq War.
Just look at the parallels here. It's almost a carbon copy. Both started a war based on ideology that the public turned viciously against. In both cases, the president's approval ratings went through the floor, the party started to panic, and what was the solution? Not to change the policy, but to try and rebrand it with a catchy new slogan. Sound familiar?
And what happened in 2006? A political slaughter, a total wipeout. The Republicans lost control of everything, the House and the Senate. It was an absolute rejection by the American people, and it stands as a perfect modern example of what happens when hubris meets reality.
But that was just a political loss. What happens when the stakes are even higher? Let's scale it up and look at the ultimate example of collapse, the Soviet Union.
It's the exact same script, just on an epic scale. It all began with this ideological crusade in Afghanistan, what they thought would be a quick little invasion. Instead, it became a decade-long meat grinder that bled the empire dry, completely shattered the public's trust, and lit the fuse on the collapse of their entire system.
And here is where it gets really chilling. Look at the specific tactic. To pay for their failing war, Soviet planners just starved domestic programs. They took the money from their own people. Now, analysts are pointing to Russ Vought, Trump's ONB director, freezing billions in funds approved by Congress, and they're saying it's the same logic. It's using the state's budget as a weapon to punish your political enemies at home. Okay, so we have our historical blueprints. We have the framework for Mearsheimer. Now, let's take that merciless lens and apply it directly to what's happening today with the Trump administration and Speaker Mike Johnson. Let's look at the evidence. The numbers don't just whisper, they scream. A Fox News poll shows that 64% of voters disapprove of Donald Trump's handling of taxes. And when you dig into the data, you see support just cratering among young people and Latinos. It's a disaster. And to put that into perspective for you, Donald Trump's disapproval rating right now is worse than Richard Nixon's was on the eve of his resignation. Just think about that. This isn't just a political problem. This is a five-alarm fire. So how does the leadership respond to this catastrophe? They decide to throw a party for the very bill that people hate. Congressman Joe Neguse gets up on the House floor and just torches them for it. He basically says,
You control the entire House of Representatives, and this is what you do with it: celebrate a bill the country can't stand. And there was just silence.
Then the mask comes all the way off. Congresswoman Becca Balint confronts Russ Vought, the guy behind Project 2025, face to face. She accuses him of illegally freezing money meant for American families. And she doesn't mince words. She tells him, "You're not just taking power from Congress, you're stealing it from the American people." And this isn't just a political squabble. This has been tested in court. We are talking about billions and billions of dollars. $7.6 billion for clean energy, $10 billion for childcare. Federal judges looked at this and called it vindictive and unlawful. The Nonpartisan Government Accountability Office declared it illegal. This is a direct assault on the rule of law.
And if you thought it couldn't get any crazier, at the exact same time, Senator Ron Wyden gets Trump's own IRS commissioner to admit one of the most insane conflicts of interest in American history. Donald Trump is personally suing his own government agency, the IRS, for $10 billion of taxpayer money. The system is openly at war with itself.
And here is the truly dangerous part. When a great power gets this consumed with fighting itself, it creates a vacuum in the world. And you better believe America's rivals are watching. They see this chaos, they see this weakness, and they start making their moves. This isn't just domestic politics anymore. This is a shift in the entire global balance of power.
This is the death spiral Mearsheimer warns about. It's a predictable cycle. The internal panic leads to desperate political stunts. The stunts create a massive public backlash, and that backlash forces a choice between two terrible outcomes. Either the party fractures into open civil war, or the leader doubles down and escalates the crisis to try and save himself. Which means right now, we're staring down three very dark paths. Path 1 is the bloodbath. They keep up the act and get absolutely destroyed in the midterms. Path 2 is the fracture. The party literally rips itself apart. And path 3, well, path 3 is the most terrifying. The administration escalates the war abroad and the punishments at home, risking a total systemic collapse. Because this is the iron law. This is the cold, hard reality of history. Pretending you're strong when your foundation is rotting away doesn't project power. It's a flashing neon sign of weakness. And in the brutal game of world politics, power never, ever forgives weakness. The historical patterns are laid bare. The data is undeniable. The evidence is unfolding in front of our eyes every single day. So the only question left isn't what's happening. The question is, for all of us, which one of these dark paths is America already on? And how far down that road do we go before the damage can never be undone?